from One Buyer, as we said. My name is Alex. And just before I get started, can I get a bit of participation in terms of just understanding what the audience is like? So how many of you guys are postdocs? Postdocs, okay. PhD students? Okay, masters? Okay. Honors? Any honors? Okay. Cool. How many of you guys have got some aspiration of building a company potentially, or being involved in a startup company? Geez, that's a pretty good percentage. Okay. Cool. All right. So that's exciting for us because at One Buyer we are in the business of building life sciences businesses. So we provide the funding and the mentorship and the networks, etc., to help you take your businesses forward. I'm a life scientist by training. It feels weird that I'm at a careers day. I didn't know what I wanted to do for the whole of my career until relatively recently. So if you're in that same spot, hang in. It works itself out. But yeah, essentially we're in the business of trying to get commercialization of research, specifically in the life sciences, out of universities and into the real world. Obviously I've got a biotech background, but we are very excited about biology for a number of reasons, and we share this same feeling as Steve Jobs. Is quoted as saying in 2011 that he believes that the most exciting times, or the most exciting technologies, will come at the intersection of biology and technology, and we feel the same way. And the reason we feel that way is because biotechnology is becoming an information technology. It's important to understand these principles and why we think that biotechnology and the work that you guys have done is so exciting and so important. And we've been kind of doing what we're doing, trying to create this business that we've created for the last sort of 2 years, and we could have done anything. And we chose biotechnology because we're so excited for it. So the three major trends that are making biotechnology into an information technology, which are really exciting. I know that most of you guys have probably seen these, so I won't spend too much time on them. But essentially, DNA, the code of life, we've been able to read that very effectively. Early 2000s, about $100 million. We're down to under $1,000 to a whole human genome. So for the first time, we can read the code of life, of everything that surrounds us. Secondly, with generating those huge amounts of data and advanced computational methods, we can now start to understand that data. So not only are we generating data about life, we're actually starting to understand it, which is really exciting as well. Creating data without being able to understand it is pretty pointless. And then lastly, gene editing technologies. We've had various gene editing technologies for a while, but recently with CRISPR-Cas9 and prime editing, we've got really effective ways to do it quite cheaply and accurately. So for the first time, not only can we read the code of life, but we can understand the code of life and we can start editing the code of life. So these three trends very, very closely mirror the software sort of landscape in the early 1980s. We all know what happened there. So what we see in this space, being able to pick up these trends, is a massive opportunity in exactly what you guys have done in the study. And what we see here is we're not alone in seeing it. This graph shows a graph of venture capital spend. So does everyone know what venture capital is? So venture capital, for those of you who don't, is effectively very early investment into companies. You can see this is just the US, and this is just venture capital spend in biotech. Hovering around $2 billion for quite a while. So 2013 was a little bit of a tipping point. And in 2017, they had a bumper year, and everyone said, oh, it's a bubble, it's going to burst. 2018 was even more, and 2019 is, I think it's around about $14 billion. I haven't updated this graph, but effectively a lot of people recognize this opportunity. It's becoming a very exciting space to be in, and this is why we're doing what we're doing. What does this mean kind of on the ground? And what it means on the ground is that biotechnology is no longer the domain of multinational pharmaceutical companies and agricultural companies. This is biotech of old, and this is biotech of new. You've got startup companies being able to compete for the first time and raise significant funding on relatively small amounts of money. A couple of the companies you guys might know here, Twist Biosciences, Bulk Threads. And another thing to mention about this slide is that you're seeing biotechnology impact areas of the economy that were never impacted previously. So you've got food, for instance, Memphis Meat, so growing, using muscle stem cells, growing burgers in the lab. You've got Bulk Threads, who have isolated the gene for the polymer in spider silk. It's impossible to farm spiders. I didn't know that until originally. But you can put the polymer into yeast and recombinantly produce essentially spider silk, which is amazing. So you've got material science and food, which is something that, other than agriculture, hasn't been something where biotech has directly played. The question that we were asking, is it possible to create a successful company, a successful big biotech company in South Africa? And luckily it's already been done. It was mentioned earlier, Capital Biosystems. Sudbury has gone, but a little correction, it was a little bit more than that. It was about 6.3 billion rand, $445 million. So there's precedent. You can create big companies here. Unfortunately, these were 4 American guys. We like to work with South Africans this time. But it can be done. I'm sure many of you guys have used their enzymes, but worldwide company acquired by Roche, it can be done on the southern tip of Africa. But then why aren't we doing more in this space? We've got phenomenal scientists. I'm sure that a lot of you guys attest to that. A lot of you, I know I wasn't one of them, but a lot of you guys do. So why aren't we creating more successful companies? And we dived into this a little while ago, and what we picked up was that we have the elements, the raw elements for creating biotech companies and startups, but they just don't mingle. They never mix. We've got really good science in places like this and many other places around the country. You've got business skills. We know Elon Musk, we know Mark Shuttleworth, we know Patrice Motsepe, we've got the business skills. And then the investment is here. VC is very, very small still, but that's growing. But there is money around. So then why can't we create more successful companies? Well, really these never really intermingle. So we built OneBio around about 2 years ago now. We started. It's been quite a long time to get going, as startups generally do take. Don't let anyone tell you it's a quick process. But essentially we bind these 3 sort of elements into one. We bring these things together. And the way that we do that is through 3 different things. First of all, we've got an incubation program. We founded with a partner called the Cape Innovation Technology Initiative. We built a co-working lab space. We've raised money for both of those things, and they sit inside a non-profit entity at the moment. The lab space, for any of you guys that are interested, is sort of basic cell biology and molecular biology. You can do qPCRs, we've got cell culture ability, etc., etc. And for the first time that we know of in Africa, you can go into a space, rent a space for a shortish amount of time, and build in an environment that doesn't have some constraints around intellectual property, which I'm not suggesting they do that, Francois, but it is an option. And then the last portion is funding. We've recently raised a venture capital fund. We are the only venture capital fund in biotechnology on the continent at this stage that focuses on biotechnology. We've raised just under 85 million rand, and we're hoping to get that to 200 million in the next kind of 6 months. And the mandate for the funding is such, is that we can invest in South African and African biotechnology companies. The core has to be biotechnology. And our strategy around this is not just investing in companies that are sort of competitive. We're investing in companies that we believe can be the best in the world. We've done it before with Capital, we can do it again. Areas that interest us, African genomics is a specific area that interests us. That's not just African people and the genetic wealth that's there, but soils and plants and all the unique kind of genetic value that we have around us. Industrial biotechnology, we obviously like this one because of the precedent that has been set. The microbiome is very interesting. I think most of us in this room will have known about the increasing sort of understanding of the importance of the microbiome, so we're interested in that space as well. The future of food, this is an area that's getting a hell of a lot of investment around the world. Very interesting for us as well. And then bioinformatics, data science type companies as well are quite interesting to us. Our sweet spot really is the convergence of biotechnology, wet lab work, digitizing that, creating some sort of data out of that, and then using advanced computational methods to understand it. In terms of our investment fund, which I'm going to just zoom into quickly, I'll go through these relatively quickly, but we've got 2 strategies around investments. One is that we'll invest in companies that come to us with a great idea, with a great team, everything's set up, ready to go, and they need funding. This can be pre-revenue, it can be kind of prototype stage, so we go very, very early. And we can provide you with some funding, some money for an equity stake in your company, very much like Dragon's Den or Shark, what is it, Shark Cage? Shark Tank, that's it. And the other one is a venture build. So what we call venture building is essentially where we work very closely with scientists, researchers, to actually create companies internally. So we've got some interns that are going to be starting relatively soon to actually help build out companies. These will be our companies, co-owned by researchers or scientists, but people essentially that haven't actually created a company but want to do that and need a bit of help in setting it up. We'll help with that. In terms of the venture investments, we can go, the important part there, the bottom, is we can go anywhere from 500,000 Rand up to about 16 million Rand at this stage. If we get up to our 200 million mark, which we're hoping to do, it'll be close to sort of 30 to 35 million per company. These are not going to be one-off investments. These will be tranched investments where you'll get 5 million rand to reach a milestone. If you reach that milestone, it unlocks the rest of the funding. And then, importantly, we've got an example here which probably isn't worth going through at this stage, but the venture build will actually work with researchers and scientists like yourselves to actually be able to build these companies out. And then we look to co-create, essentially. Moving a little bit forward, another sort of example there. What was interesting was a lot of people were asking about what sort of qualifications you needed to be, for instance, a TTO, and you'll see that these are, I hadn't put this in previously, but these are the factors that we consider in investing in companies. It's got nothing to do with whether you have a PhD, it's got nothing to do with whether you have an MBA, but it's the aptitudes, it's the company needs to involve biology at its core. Obviously we need to feel that you can execute in what you can do, and having advanced degrees like you have is advantageous in that. We critically want to create companies that are solving hard problems. So the sort of what people call the low-hanging fruit, which is I think quite attractive to a lot of funders, isn't really what gets us. We want to solve really hard problems, and we feel like there are enough of them on this continent and in this country to do that. We want audacious, world-changing, and scalable companies. Big one. And critically, we want to invest in companies that have got some sort of advantage about being in South Africa. So the African genomics thing is an interesting one, and it's very difficult to compete directly head-on with the sort of types of money and quantums of money and levels of talent that's overseas. So let's be smart about it, and let's work out ways we can be smart about competing. We also want to use data. We really believe that the advancements in data and data science and machine learning into biology is kind of exactly where we want to be. And so if your company employs that, or your idea employs that, that's very exciting to us. So our call to action for you guys is essentially one of these 3 things. We'd love to hear from you guys if you have a great idea for a biotech business, or you have a biotech business already that you're looking for funding. That's kind of easy, straightforward. The second one is if you have developed IP while doing your research, you need to first speak to Francois, and then come and speak to us, but hopefully we'll work on that together. If you have developed IP or you have an idea, but you haven't developed any IP within the university, then you can come directly to us, I think. The IP hasn't been developed at the university?
Case by case.
Case by case. So go to him first, I think. It's probably safe. Be safe.
It's safer, you're going to do the scrutinization.
Yeah, we don't want to fight with UCT.
Yeah.
And then the last one's kind of interesting to us is that if you guys are scientists and have an interest in entrepreneurship and you kind of don't really know what you want to do, but you want to get your feet wet into the entrepreneurship game, please chat with us. We're looking for what we're calling entrepreneurs in residence, which is essentially you'll come and work with us, helping to build out these companies that we're calling venture builds. Potentially, if it all goes well, you could be part of the team, etc., in taking that startup out and kind of spinning it out. So that's what we do. I've got my contact details there. Feel free to give me a call or send me a message or an email. And if there are any questions, I'd love to take it. Thanks. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Are you sure there are no questions?
No questions.
So I think Will will be here for another 10 minutes. So any of you? Oh, is there questions? Sorry.
So what obviously we're studying at the university.
Yeah.
So any idea that you have now in your degree, is that not doing this?
My sense is that probably not. If you haven't been working on it, if it's not publicly funded. So if your project, for instance, is working on a cure for TB, for instance, and you discover something about in that process that makes you want to create a product or service out of that, my sense is that would definitely be owned by the university.
That was funded by...
It was funded by that research, was funded, my sense. So I'm not the right person to be commenting on this. I might be saying the wrong thing, but if you do have something, chat with, we haven't worked directly with Sabri and Francois yet, but I've heard good things. So they're not going to steal your ideas, they're not going to, just chat to them.
Yeah, I guess if I can tie into that, it's really, I don't know why there's a negative sentiment. It's all about, it's so difficult. Ask him, you heard Sabri, it's so difficult. We want to build, the best infrastructure around the idea to give it the best chance of success. And if you have an idea and you haven't worked and it doesn't relate to your research, he's absolutely right. It doesn't come into UCT, sort of, right, it's fine. So you're going to take that raw idea to him. And he's going to have to spend resources and time and put expertise around to take that forward. If you can do that with the university as a partner, that's an option on your table, right? And you build it, the opportunity as Nick will guide you through that. So we really like the position from the university side as a partner in the journey. And from our point of view, it's a no-brainer. We will work with you. Not want to, we will. Because we can't do this. We can't do this on our own. This is a one big universe and we have to work together. So, especially in dietary. So I don't think it shouldn't be a concern. Rather get to know us, spend time, and you'll find a way to do this.
Can I just add to that?
Yeah.
Is that what I had the same idea as you when I was doing my PhD. For some reason, this is a belief that's held. What I have now learned is that what the university can do for you in terms of setting it up, if it has been done specifically with public research, is that their incentives are completely aligned with your incentives. They want to commercialize it. So if it's something you want to do, they also want the same thing. They want it to make money. And there's been I think, I don't know if you'll comment on this as well, Francois, but there's been seemingly a move towards improving the way that this is done and the ease in which it's done, etc. So there are some horror stories from many years ago. I wouldn't say follow those. The general rule is there'd be more help than there would be harm.
Great, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you very much
We
for
really
inviting
appreciate
us.
it.
Thanks.